the Up Coast Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. It's time for our weekly 5 and 5 segment. 5 topics, 5 minutes. Let's get right to it. First of all, could it get any better than Boston, LA back-to-back, Barry?
Well, I think it could. I think if the Heat were here, I mean, I'd take the Lakers.
Back-to-back?
Well, yeah, they do that sort of thing these days. But I mean, I'd take the Heat over the Celtics. Boston, the jerseys still resonate, but the team, not so much. I mean, they're faded glory. The guys have gotten old. Pierce, Garnett, Ray Allen. They can still hoop a little bit, but I'd get more fired up if it was the Lakers and the Heat.
Well, I tell you what, I think in terms of tradition and sort of those uniforms and those days that everybody can harken back to, it really can't get any better than this. Barry, this is Oklahoma City hosting Boston and LA. All those NBA championships, all those banners that are hanging in their two arenas, and they're here on back-to-back nights. As John Ruddy wrote, they almost crossed paths at the airport, didn't quite do it. These are some heady days for Oklahoma City. To have these two teams here, these two franchises, that's pretty big time.
It's great.
All right. How about this? Barry, is Bedlam going to get any better?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult for Bedlam to get better. I mean, we've had all kinds of shootouts the last few years, 61-41 and 47-41. We had to, playing for the Fiesta Bowl this year, and Cowboys won in a rout. So on a good long string of Bedlam doing great. I think it's going to be hard for Bedlam to get better.
A Weisenheimer for sure. I think we were talking about basketball Bedlam, maybe not football Bedlam. Maybe change your...
And I've got something very, very concise to say. I certainly hope so.
Yeah, it has really gone downhill. Wednesday night in Norman, an intriguing game, but 12 points in the first half, Barry? Oh my gosh, we wonder why people aren't going to games in Stillwater and Norman. I think that might be part of the answer, if not a big chunk of the answer. Barry, it has to get better, doesn't it? I mean, for crying out loud.
Well, I mean, there's reason. OSU will be better next year, particularly if LeBron Nash comes back. Lots of good young talent. Travis Ford seems to be putting it together finally with this team. So, I mean, I think OSU is going to be better. And OU's should be better, same guys. The problem is these guys have been together, most of them, quite a while and haven't done much. So I think OSU will be quite a bit better next year. OU, maybe not as much.
All right, topic number 3. Barry, is Russell Westbrook, is he shooting too much?
No, I think he's not shooting enough. I mean, this is a guy that's...
Skip Bayless would come over the desk at you.
He's like shooting 50% 8 of the last 10 games and scoring 30 points a game. The problem with Russell Westbrook when he shoots 25, when he makes, let's say, 13 out of 25, the problem is that he ought to shoot 35 times a game. For crying out loud, no, Russell Westbrook isn't shooting too much. He takes 2 or 3 bad shots a game, but when you're taking 23, 26, 28 shots a game, I think that's fine. No, I like to see Harden, Westbrook, Durant, jack it up. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, you'd much rather have those guys shooting than some of the alternatives. Yeah, Darnell Mayberry, our Thunder beat writer, did a really fascinating look at every game this year, looking and seeing, does Russell Westbrook shoot too much? And there were really only 2 games this year that were losses that you could look at and say, hey, that would be maybe attributed to Russell Westbrook not distributing enough. Listen, he is not the traditional point guard. He's more in the Derrick Rose mold, and I think anybody out there who thinks he's just going to start, getting 15 assists a game, that's not who he is, and that's not who they want him to be either, Barry. And, maybe it's not what everybody wants out there nationally, but it's working pretty well for these guys right now.
And here's the truth. For all that Charles Barkley and for all that Skip Bayless jump all over Westbrook, all kinds of great basketball minds are just raving about him. Magic Johnson raved about him last night. Hubie Brown raved about him. Chris Mullin loves him. All kinds of people are liking what Russell Westbrook does.
Doc Rivers, the Boston coach, thought pretty highly of him too. All right, hey, it's Oscars week, Barry, so we got to talk movies. Favorite movie ever?
Well, I mean, I think you have to group movies into 2 things. Real movies that are, have heart, and just mindless movies. My favorite mindless movie is Batman, the Michael Keaton original, although I like the 2 recent vintage with The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. So give me really good Batman movies and I'm happy. But if you're talking about real movies with heart, I don't think it's close. You go back to 1962 and To Kill a Mockingbird with with the Harper Lee story. Just fabulous movie. I could sit and watch it. It's a little bit like Shawshank.
Yeah,
I could sit and just watch it. It's not on as much as Shawshank. I mean, for crying out loud, Friends reruns aren't as much as Shawshank. But I could watch To Kill a Mockingbird, Scout, and The Game. Watch them all the time.
Well, if you're going to group them into mindless and movies with heart, Shawshank would be the one I would say with heart. But my mindless favorite, it's a guilty pleasure, My Best Friend's Wedding. Barry, have you ever seen My Best Friend?
I have seen it. It's a great soundtrack, and it's great shots of Chicago. I love Chicago, so I like seeing Chicago.
My favorite part is the sing-along in the restaurant. I don't know why. I'm not a person that, I mean, I like to laugh, but I'm not a person that, I don't usually laugh at completely goofy stuff. That's a completely goofy scene, singing along in the restaurant. It gets me every time. I crack up every time.
I like the dance scene at the end's fun, too.
All right. Hey, back to reality and some not-so-funny questions. Barry, is college football really talking playoff?
I think that, well, of course they are, but I thought of this, and you wrote about it today. As I was reading your column, I thought a bit about this. What if they're just talking playoff? What if their plan is, hey, let's get together and let's talk about a playoff and let's build it up and then, just never do anything. We won't ever do anything. We'll just talk about it and get everybody excited, get everybody off our back. It's sort of like giving a girl an engagement ring. Get her off your back. just don't set a date.
Well, I suppose that's possible, but I actually think college football, they're not just talking. I think they're actually going to move towards some sort of playoff. Now, they're using the +1 format as their phraseology. But let's be honest, this is a 4-team playoff, folks. This is 2 semifinal games playing into a final game. It's the first step into probably some sort of expansive playoff, Barry. We've talked about this all along. The NFL playoffs, Major League Baseball playoffs, not where they were where they are today 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. They evolved. Why not college football? I think this is the first step in possibly some pretty major steps.
Could be, although the progression of the professional playoffs is one reason that's held college back. They might entertain a 4-team. They don't want an 8 or a 16. That's one of the things. They don't like that slippery slope.
All right. Sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.